Everyone says contract marriages are just business. They're wrong. Here's why. When Isla Monroe signed that 47-page agreement at 3 a.m., shaking so hard she could barely hold the pen, she thought she understood the terms. 1 year playing wife to a wheelchair-bound Korean mafia boss, then freedom. But the moment she stepped off that private jet in Seoul and saw Dante Kang's face, she realized the contract forgot to mention one thing. What happens when the fake marriage starts feeling dangerously real? And here's what nobody tells you about falling for the man who bought you. Sometimes the cage becomes home, and that's when things get truly terrifying. If you've ever wondered what you'd do for $10 million and your freedom, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Would you sign that contract? Let's go. The Manhattan rain sounded like bullets against the penthouse windows. Isla Monroe's hand trembled as she stared at the fountain pen her mother had just placed in front of her. Ah, sign it, Isla. Vivian Wells stood perfectly still in her Chanel suit, looking at her daughter like she was reviewing a bad investment. Not a person. Not family. Just numbers on a balance sheet. You want me to marry a stranger? Isla whispered. Her dark eyes, her father's eyes, before he'd gambled away everything, including his dignity, scanned the contract again. Section 7, subsection C made her stomach turn. Violation of any term results in immediate seizure of all assets, intellectual property, and business interests. I'm asking you to save us. Vivian's voice could have frozen wine. Your father's debts are $8 million. The people he owes? They don't send collection letters, Isla. They send body bags. Isla's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Sign it or your studio burns tomorrow. Your choice, designer girl. But here's where it gets twisted. The contract wasn't just about marriage, it was about survival. What do you even know about him? Isla asked, her voice barely audible over the storm. Dante Kang. This man you're selling me to. Vivian's expression flickered. Maybe pity, maybe relief, that this nightmare was almost over. I know he's the only thing between us and a very painful end. I know he's been in a wheelchair for 3 years after someone tried to kill him. I know his family controls half of Seoul's underground economy. She paused. And I know that if you don't sign, we're both dead by Friday. Isla looked at the pen, at the contract, at the city lights blurring through rain-soaked windows. She'd built Coleman Atelier from nothing. Her sustainable fashion line was supposed to be her escape from her family's toxic legacy. Instead, her father had used it as collateral. Now some Korean Mafia heir she'd never even seen owned her future. The pen felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She signed anyway. The ink seemed to burn into the paper, each stroke of her name feeling like signing away pieces of her soul. Excellent. Vivian snatched the contract like a drowning woman grabbing a life preserver. The jet leaves in 6 hours. Pack light. They'll provide everything in Seoul. 6 hours? Isla's head snapped up. I need to close my studio. Tell my team. Already handled. Your assistant Jade has full remote authority. Vivian was already at the door, victory written across her perfectly made-up face. Oh, and Isla? Whatever you think you know about the Kang family, forget it. Smile. Look beautiful. Keep your mouth shut. 1 year. You can survive anything for 1 year. The door closed. Isla stood alone, staring at her reflection in the rain-streaked windows. And here's what she didn't know yet. The contract had a clause even her mother hadn't mentioned, a clause that would change everything. The private jet touched down in Seoul at 2:47 a.m. Isla had spent 14 hours researching Dante Kang. Results? Terrifyingly sparse. No social media, no interviews. Just whispers. Reclusive heir. Violent incident 3 years ago. Wheelchair-bound. Family civil war. But no photos, Not one clear image of the man who now legally owned her. A Mercedes waited on the tarmac, sleek and black as a hearse. The driver was a mountain, 6'4" of pure muscle in an impeccable suit. "Miss Monroe, I'm Taemin, head of security for Mr. Kang." His English was flawless, his expression unreadable. "Welcome to Seoul." "Mrs. Kang now, apparently," Isla muttered, sliding into leather that probably cost more than her rent. If Taemin registered her bitterness, he didn't show it. The drive took them into the hills, past sprawling estates hidden behind walls that screamed, "Keep out or die." When they finally stopped, Isla's breath caught despite her anger. The Kang estate wasn't a house. It was a fortress disguised as art, traditional Korean architecture fused with modern security systems. Cameras everywhere, guards at every checkpoint. This wasn't a home. It was a compound. "Mr. Kang is waiting in his study," Taemin said, opening her door. "He doesn't like to be kept waiting." Here's what Isla was thinking. She'd prepared herself for a monster, a villain. Maybe someone old, cruel, using the wheelchair as an excuse for bitterness. What she found instead changed everything. The study door opened to reveal floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, priceless art, and behind a desk that could run a small country, Dante Kang. Isla forgot how to breathe. He was beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Sharp jawline, ink-black hair styled with careless perfection. Eyes so dark they seemed to absorb light, currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. The wheelchair should have made him seem vulnerable. Instead, it made him look like a predator who'd learned patience. "Close the door, Miss Monroe." His voice was silk over steel. "We have much to discuss." Isla closed the door, her prepared speech dying in her throat. "It's Mrs. Kang now," she managed. "As of 6 hours ago." Something flickered in his expression, amusement maybe, or calculation. "The paperwork is filed. Tomorrow's ceremony is theater for the family." He gestured to the chair across from him. Not a request, a command. "Sit." Isla sat, her designer instincts cataloging details. The custom wheelchair, built for intimidation, not pity. The way he held himself, spine straight, radiating authority. The scar tracing from his right temple into his hairline. Someone had tried to kill this man. They'd failed. And that's when Isla realized she wasn't the only one trapped in this contract. 3 years ago, someone poisoned me at a family dinner, Dante said, his tone conversational like he was discussing the weather. "Neurotoxin. Should have killed me. Instead," he gestured at the wheelchair. "I got this. And a family civil war that's been bleeding money ever since." Isla's stomach dropped. "And I'm supposed to fix that how?" "By being visible proof that I'm not weak." He leaned forward, and the movement felt predatory. A beautiful, successful American wife sends a message. Dante Kang is thriving, expanding, untouchable. So I'm a prop. You're a strategic asset, just like I'm your financial lifeline. His eyes held hers, unflinching. "We're using each other, Mrs. Kang. Let's not pretend otherwise." The honesty should have stung. Instead, Isla found it weirdly refreshing. "What do you expect from me?" she asked. "Attend family dinners, smile at business functions, play the devoted wife in public, in private?" He gestured around the study. "You have the entire West Wing. My mother will assign staff. You maintain your business remotely. In 12 months, you walk away with $10 million and your freedom." Sounds simple. It won't be. Dante's expression hardened. "My family is a nest of vipers. They'll test you, break you if they can. And the business world here? They'll eat you alive." "Good thing I spent 5 years surviving New York fashion," Isla said coolly. "I don't break easily." For the first time, Genuine interest flickered in Dante's eyes. "We'll see," he said softly. But here's what neither of them knew yet. The contract had a hidden clause, one that would make no intimacy the least of their problems. The wedding was scheduled for the next evening. 200 guests, cameras everywhere, a ceremony designed to broadcast one message. Dante Kang was still in control. Isla spent the morning being fitted for a hanbok that cost more than her car. Crimson silk with gold embroidery that somehow incorporated African patterns. Even the dress was propaganda. She looked stunning. She felt like livestock at auction. The ceremony hall was packed with Seoul's elite. Business moguls, politicians, faces Isla recognized from international news, all here to witness the spectacle. Isla walked down the aisle alone. Her mother hadn't bothered flying in. Dante waited at the altar in a black suit that made the wheelchair invisible. When their eyes met, something shifted. Recognition, maybe. Or challenge. The officiant droned through vows in Korean, then English. Isla repeated her lines mechanically. Then, "You may kiss the bride." Isla's heart stopped. This wasn't in the contract. Dante's hand cupped the back of her neck with surprising gentleness, drawing her down. His lips brushed hers. Barely contact, maybe 3 seconds, but the touch sent electricity racing down her spine. When he pulled back, his dark eyes held a warning and a promise. "Smile, Mrs. Kang," he murmured, too low for anyone else. "We're supposed to look happy." Camera flashes exploded. The crowd applauded. And Isla realized. The contract might say, no intimacy. But her body wasn't reading the fine print. The West Wing was beautiful and soulless. A gilded cage with museum-quality art and zero warmth. "Your rooms, Mrs. Kang." The housekeeper, Mrs. Lim, gestured like she was presenting a prison cell. "Mr. Dante's quarters are in the East Wing. You will not enter without invitation." Translation: Stay on your side. Isla spent 3 days mapping her boundaries. The estate was massive but walled. Staff was polite but distant. Her equipment had been set up perfectly, but the Wi-Fi was monitored. She could feel eyes on every keystroke. She saw Dante exactly 3 times. Once at a family dinner where his mother interrogated her like a suspect. Once when he passed her in the garden without acknowledgement. Once through a window being transferred from wheelchair to car by Taemin. They didn't speak. Then, everything changed. On day 4, Taemin appeared at her door. "Mr. Kang requests your presence at dinner, 8 p.m. His mother and sister will attend." Taemin's expression was carefully blank. "He suggested you wear something that makes a statement." Interesting. Isla chose a floor-length emerald gown of her own design, fitted to perfection. Neckline, elegant but undeniably bold. Gold eyeliner. Natural hair in an elaborate updo. Diamond choker. When she looked in the mirror, she didn't see a victim. She saw a warrior. The private dining room felt like a tribunal. Dante at the head. His mother Seon to his right, radiating ice. His sister Mina to his left. Beautiful, predatory, calculating. And Isla, seated directly across from Dante, feeling like prey. "Mrs. Kang." Seon's voice could freeze blood. "How lovely you finally joined us." "I wasn't aware I'd been invited until today," Isla replied smoothly. "You're always invited." Mina's smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're family now. Though I suppose the adjustment must be difficult, coming from such different circumstances." "The adjustment has been fascinating," Isla said, meeting Mina's gaze. "I'm learning so much about Korean culture, the architecture, the art, She paused delicately. "Family dynamics." Dante's lips curved almost imperceptibly. Seon's chopsticks clicked sharply. "Dante, I trust you've explained discretion regarding business matters." "Thoroughly," Dante said, Bored. Because the American press can be invasive, Seon continued as if Isla weren't there. We wouldn't want unfortunate misunderstandings about this marriage. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. But here's where Isla made her first move. Does she understand that Kang Industries is negotiating a delicate acquisition? Mina leaned forward, eyes locked on Isla. That instability could cost billions? I understand that I'm apparently here to smile and look pretty while you pretend I don't have a brain, Isla said calmly. Is that about right? Shocked silence. Then Dante laughed. Genuine, surprised, transforming his entire face. I like her, he said. Seon looked like she'd swallowed glass. Dante. Isla has her own company. Successful one. His eyes found hers across the table, holding challenge and respect. Perhaps instead of testing her, you should consider utilizing her expertise. Utilize her? Mina's voice dripped disdain. For what? And this is where everything shifted. Kang Industries has been trying to break into the American luxury market for 3 years. Dante said smoothly. We have product, but not cultural understanding. Isla has both. He turned to her. What do you know about consumer wearable tech? Isla's mind raced. This was a test, but also an opportunity. I know most tech companies design for function and hope luxury follows, she said carefully. But American luxury consumers want both. Seamless integration of technology into fashion-forward design. Currently, most smartwatches look like exactly what they are. Gadgets. If you want that market, make tech that doesn't look like tech. Dante's focus intensified. Continue. Partner with fashion houses. Embed tech into pieces people actually want to wear. Jewelry, handbags, textiles. Make it invisible. Make it essential. Isla was warming up now. The tech world keeps trying to make fashion more technical. Flip it. Make technology more fashionable. Silence. Then Dante smiled. Sharp, approving, dangerous. Interesting. My team's been saying the opposite for 18 months. Then your team is why you're failing, Isla said bluntly. Mina looked apoplectic. Dante's smile widened. You're hired. What? Isla blinked. Starting Monday, you're consulting for Kang Industries' American luxury division, full creative authority. He leaned back, looking satisfied. Unless you object, Mother? It was a power play. Everyone knew it. Seon's smile was glacial. Of course not, dear. What a clever use of your wife's talents. But here's what Isla didn't know. By accepting, she'd just painted a target on her back. The rest of dinner passed in stilted conversation. But something had shifted. Dante had publicly backed her. That made her dangerous. Later that night, Taemin intercepted Isla in the hallway. Mr. Kang wants to see you. His study. Now. Her stomach fluttered. It's almost midnight. He's aware. The study was dimly lit when she entered, just the desk lamp casting shadows across Dante's face as he reviewed documents. You didn't have to do that, Isla said quietly. At dinner. I didn't do it for you. Dante signed something, still not looking up. I did it because you were right and my team was wrong. Mina's been pushing a tech-first approach that's hemorrhaging capital. So I'm a strategic asset again. Always. Finally, he looked up. The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. But you're more interesting than I anticipated. Is that a compliment? Isla asked. It's an observation. Dante set down his pen. You handled my mother and sister better than trained diplomats. Either you hide fear well, or you don't scare easily. Maybe both. Probably both. He gestured to the chair. Sit. We should discuss your new role. Isla sat, pulse racing. In the lamplight, Dante's features were devastating. Sharp angles, controlled intensity, and something else. Something almost hungry. The luxury division reports to me, he said, pulling out a folder. You'll have an office, budget, design team. Your contract stays unchanged. 1 year, then freedom. But while you're here, I need results. Define results. A prototype in 3 months. Something revolutionary enough to get American buyers interested. His eyes locked on hers. Can you deliver? Challenge. Everything with this man was challenge. I can deliver, Isla said firmly. But I need real access. Factory tours, material sourcing, meetings with tech teams. No more gilded cage. Dante's lips curved. Feeling trapped, Mrs. Kang? Aren't you? The words slipped out before she could stop them. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Every day of my life, he said quietly. The admission hung between them, raw and unexpected. Isla's breath caught. For just a moment, the cold Mafia air disappeared. She saw something else. A man as trapped as she was. Different cage. Same desperation. Then maybe we're more alike than either of us thought, she whispered. Dante's gaze intensified, heat flickering beneath ice. When he spoke, his voice was rougher. Don't mistake survival strategy for friendship, Isla. We're allies of convenience, nothing more. But the way he said her name, Isla, not Miss Monroe or Mrs. Kang, sent shivers racing down her spine. Understood, she managed. Good. He pushed the folder toward her. Your office is ready. Taman drives you Monday. Don't be late. Isla stood on unsteady legs. She'd made it halfway to the door when his voice stopped her. Isla. She turned. Dante was watching her with an expression that made her heart race. Calculation mixed with something dangerous and unreadable. You surprised me today, he said quietly. Don't make it a habit. It sounded like a warning. It felt like a promise. And here's what neither of them knew. Surprising each other was about to become their full-time job. Monday morning, Isla walked into Kang Industries headquarters wearing a burgundy suit of her own design, tailored perfection that screamed competence, and refused to apologize. Her office was on the 47th floor, views that stretched across Seoul. Impressive cage, she murmured. Her design team arrived at 8 sharp, 3 Korean designers radiating skepticism, and 1 enthusiastic intern named Ji Woo, who actually seemed excited. Mrs. Kang, the lead designer Park Min-jun said with a bow that felt like an insult, we've prepared current prototypes for review. What they showed her was exactly what she'd feared. Sleek, functional, soulless tech that screamed hospital monitoring device. These won't work, Isla said bluntly. Min-jun's jaw tightened. These designs were approved by Director Mina. They represent months of development. Then you've wasted months. Isla set down the bracelet. American luxury consumers don't want medical devices. They want jewelry that happens to be smart. With respect. Min-jun's tone suggested zero respect. You've been in Seoul less than a week. Perhaps you don't understand our research. Your research targets the wrong market, Isla countered. You're designing for tech enthusiasts. I'm talking about luxury. People who spend $5,000 on a handbag because of what it represents. Tension thick enough to cut. Jiwoo raised her hand tentatively. What if we embedded sensors into existing luxury pieces, like charm bracelets or... Exactly. Isla turned to her, grateful. Or pendants, earrings, even jacket buttons. Make the tech invisible. Then the door opened. Dante rolled in. Taman flanking him, his presence dominating the space despite the wheelchair. Mr. Kang. Min-jun straightened immediately, skepticism transforming to deference. I heard. Dante's eyes swept the room, landing on Isla with intensity that made her skin prickle. My office. Now. Alone. Not a request. Isla followed him down the hall to a corner office that was less office, more command center. Monitors, secure systems, calculated perfection. The door closed with a soft click. Your team hates me, Isla said. My sister's team hates you, Dante corrected. Minjun reports to Mina. She placed him there to obstruct progress. Isla blinked. Why would she sabotage her own company? Because it's not her company, it's mine. Dante's expression hardened. She's been working with my uncle to undermine me since I took over. The luxury division failing gives them ammunition to argue I'm incompetent, that the cripple can't lead. The bluntness, the way he weaponized the word against himself, made Isla's chest tighten. So I'm not just designing products, she said slowly. I'm proving you're still in control. You're succeeding where Mina's team deliberately failed. Dante leaned forward. Which means she'll come after you. Hard, she doesn't fight fair. Neither do I. Something flickered in Dante's expression, approval or hunger. Good, because I need results in 3 months, not 3 years. His eyes locked on hers. Can you deliver, or did I make a mistake? The challenge sparked something fierce in Isla's chest. Get me access to suppliers, engineers, and a prototype budget, she said, stepping closer. And tell your sister's pet designer that if he undermines me again, I'll have him reassigned to staplers. Dante's lips curved into that sharp, dangerous smile. Done. Taman handles logistics. One more thing. Isla hesitated, then pushed forward. I need to understand what happened 3 years ago. The incident. The temperature dropped instantly. That's not relevant, Dante said, voice ice. It's relevant if I'm walking into a corporate war, Isla countered. You said someone tried to kill you. If I'm a target by association, I deserve to know what I'm facing. Silence stretched taut as wire. Then Dante pulled a thin file from his desk, sliding it across. Read it here. Don't take it. Don't discuss it. His eyes were black fire. And understand that this information makes you a liability if you're not careful. Isla opened the file with shaking hands. Inside, medical reports, police documents, photographs that made her stomach turn. Dante in a hospital bed, tubes and monitors everywhere. Toxicology reports showing rare neurotoxin. Witness statements describing a family dinner where he'd collapsed, seizing violently while his family watched. They poisoned you, Isla whispered, horror crawling up her spine. At a family dinner. The investigation was inconclusive, Dante said flatly, but the toxin was in my wine glass. Someone at that table wanted me dead or incapacitated. The paralysis was supposed to be permanent. Took 18 months of experimental treatment just to regain limited mobility. Isla looked up at him, seeing the wheelchair completely differently now. Not weakness, evidence of survival. Who? She asked. That's the question that's kept me alive for 3 years. Dante's smile was cold, deadly. My uncle Jung-soo had the most to gain. Mina has her own ambitions. Even my mother. He paused. Family loyalty is complicated in the Kang household. Jesus, Isla breathed. So when I say this is dangerous, Dante continued, eyes boring into hers, I'm not exaggerating. You're not just my paper wife anymore. You're my ally in a war where the enemy could be anyone, even people serving us dinner. The weight crashed over Isla, the reality of what she'd walked into, danger far beyond a simple contract. Why tell me? She asked. Why not keep me in the dark? Dante was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard. Because you deserve to know what you're fighting for, and because... He hesitated, something vulnerable flickering across his face. I'm tired of fighting alone. The admission hung raw and honest. Isla's heart hammered. She closed the file, pushing it back. Then let's win this war, she said quietly. Together. Over the next 6 weeks, Isla threw herself into work with ferocity that surprised even her. 12-hour days, battling Minjun's obstruction, winning over engineers, building prototypes. The breakthrough came on a rainy Thursday in late October. "Mrs. Kang, you need to see this." Jiwoo burst in holding a delicate gold necklace with a pendant that looked like abstract art. Isla took it carefully. The pendant was lightweight, elegant, completely indistinguishable from high-end jewelry. But embedded within the gold filigree were microsensors capable of tracking heart rate, stress levels, even early warning signs of health issues. "It's beautiful," Isla breathed. "And functional," Jiwoo said excitedly. "The engineers made sensors flexible enough to curve with design. We can do this with any jewelry, rings, bracelets, earrings. Perfect, revolutionary. Exactly what they needed." "Get me a meeting with Mr. Kang," Isla said, mind racing, "and prepare a full presentation. We're going to blow his mind." But here's what Isla didn't know. This success was about to make her a target. The presentation happened that evening in Dante's office, city lights glittering 50 floors below. Isla walked Dante through everything: design philosophy, technical specs, target demographics. She showed mock-ups of entire jewelry collections, each piece embedded with invisible technology. When she finished, Dante was silent, eyes studying the prototypes. "This is good," he finally said. "It's better than good," Isla countered. "This is market disrupting." "It's also going to make you a target." Dante looked up, expression serious. "Mina will see this as a direct threat. She'll escalate." "Let her." Isla's jaw set stubbornly. "I didn't come this far to back down." Dante's eyes gleamed with what might have been pride. "No, you didn't." He reached for his phone. "Young, it's Dante. Clear my schedule next week. Emergency board meeting. We're launching the luxury division ahead of schedule." When he hung up, his smile was sharp and victorious. "You just declared war," Isla said. "No." Dante's eyes locked on hers. "We just declared war. Together. And here's what happens when you declare war on vipers. They strike back." Mina struck 3 days later without subtlety. Isla was in her office when her phone exploded with notifications, news articles, social media posts, all saying the same thing. Kang heir's American wife, gold digger, or strategic plant. The story had everything. Photos of Isla leaving luxury boutiques, quotes from anonymous sources claiming she deliberately targeted Dante for money. And worst of all, leaked financial records showing her family's debts and her father's gambling problems. Her private shame, splattered across international media. Isla's hands shook scrolling through articles, each more vicious than the last. Her door slammed open. Dante rolled in, face a mask of cold fury, Taman behind him. "Don't read it," Dante said sharply. "Too late." Isla's voice cracked. "They know everything. My father's debts, the threats, They don't know about the contract," Dante interrupted. "That's legally sealed. But they know enough to damage us both." "Mina," Isla said bitterly. "Mina and my uncle working together." Dante's jaw clenched. "This is their counter move. They're trying to discredit you before the board meeting." "It's working." Isla gestured at her phone. "I'm being crucified. Your shareholders will see me as a liability." "Only if we let them." Dante moved closer, eyes fierce. "Isla, listen. This is a pressure tactic. They want you to quit. Run back to America. If you do, they win. I lose the division. They prove I'm unfit. And you lose everything anyway because contract penalties still apply. So what do I do?" Isla's voice was raw. "Sit here and take it?" "No." Dante reached out, his hand closing around hers with surprising gentleness. "You walk into that board meeting tomorrow with your head high, present your work, and show them exactly what they bought when they tried to destroy you." The touch, warm, solid, real, sent electricity racing up Isla's arm. "I'm scared," she admitted in a whisper. "Good." Dante's grip tightened. "Fear means you understand the stakes, but don't let it paralyze you. Use it." Isla looked down at their joined hands, then up at his face. In harsh office lighting, she could see the scar on his temple, faint pain lines around his eyes, the absolute determination that had kept him alive through poisoning and betrayal. He was a survivor. So was she. "Okay," she breathed. "Okay, I'll do it." Something shifted in Dante's expression, respect, and something darker, more intense. "That's my wife," he said quietly. The words shouldn't have affected her. This was business, strategic alliance. But her heart didn't care about logic. The boardroom was designed for intimidation. Massive table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows, and 20 of Seoul's most powerful people sitting in judgment. Isla walked in wearing fitted black, her own design, natural hair styled in an elaborate crown, prototype necklace gleaming at her throat. She looked like a queen entering battle. Dante sat at the head, Mina to his right wearing a smile that promised blood. Uncle Jung-soo across from her, elderly and sharp-eyed, radiating quiet menace. "Mrs. Kang," Jung-soo's voice dripped false courtesy. "How brave of you to join us, given recent revelations about your background." "I'm here to present the luxury division's new product line," Isla said calmly, moving to the screen. "My background is irrelevant to the work quality." "Is it?" Mina leaned forward, eyes glittering. "Our shareholders are concerned about optics. Someone with your financial history representing Kang Industries in America." Translation: "We're going to destroy you." Ila's hands trembled pulling up the first slide, but she forced her voice steady. "6 weeks ago, Mr. Kang asked me to solve a problem that's cost this company hundreds of millions." She clicked to the next slide, showing dismal sales figures. The problem wasn't technology, it was presentation. She walked them through everything: market research, design philosophy, technical innovations. Then revealed the prototypes. The boardroom went silent as she passed around jewelry pieces, letting them see and touch the seamless integration. "This is remarkable," one older board member murmured, examining a bracelet. "It's a gimmick," Mina snapped. "Expensive jewelry with mediocre tech. Profit margins will be triple what you're making on standalone devices," Isla interrupted, pulling up financial projections. "Because we're not competing with Apple or Samsung, we're competing with Cartier and Tiffany. Different market, different price point, different consumer psychology entirely." Young-soo's eyes narrowed. "You've been busy, Mrs. Kang." "I take my responsibilities seriously," Isla said, meeting his gaze. "Do you?" Mina's voice turned poisonous. "Because I have to wonder, are you really here to help, or just securing your payout before your year is up?" The accusation hung like a grenade. Dante's voice cut through like a blade. "Careful, sister." "I'm asking questions everyone's thinking," Mina said sweetly, "given the contract." "There is no contract that compromises Mrs. Kang's creative authority or her role," Dante said coldly. "If you have evidence otherwise, present it. Otherwise, you're wasting the board's time with personal attacks." The siblings stared at each other across the table, years of rivalry and hatred crackling between them. Then Young-soo spoke thoughtfully. "I move that we table this presentation until Mrs. Kang's situation is clarified in the media. The optics are too damaging." "I second," Mina said immediately. "No, this couldn't be happening." "Wait," Isla started. "The motion is on the floor," Jung-soo said smoothly. "All in favor?" Hands started rising around the table. And then Dante did something that changed everything. He stood up. The boardroom went dead silent. Dante Kang, who hadn't walked unaided in 3 years, who everyone assumed would be wheelchair-bound for life, pushed himself to his feet with visible effort, hands gripping the table for support. "I've been working with physical therapists for 6 months," he said, voice steady despite obvious strain. "Most of you assumed I'd never walk again. You assumed wrong." Isla's breath caught. She'd had no idea. He'd never mentioned. "My sister and uncle have spent 3 years undermining my authority based on the assumption that I'm weak," Dante continued, dark eyes sweeping the room. "That I can't lead effectively. Mrs. Kang's luxury division isn't just a product line. It's proof that I'm still capable of strategic vision, of innovation, of winning." He was using her work as ammunition, but the way he looked at her when he said her name, there was something else there too. Something real. "All those opposed to tabling?" Dante asked, voice ringing with authority. Slowly, reluctantly, more hands rose. The tide was turning. Jungsu's face was stone. Mina looked murderous. The motion failed. Dante lowered himself back into his wheelchair, hands shaking slightly from effort. But he was smiling, sharp and victorious. "Mrs. Kang will have her budget and timeline," he said. "Meeting adjourned." And here's what Isla realized. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Isla found Dante in his office an hour later, alone, head in his hands. "You can walk," she said quietly, closing the door. "Barely." His voice was rough with exhaustion. "Maybe 10 minutes at a time before the pain becomes unbearable. Therapists say I might regain full mobility eventually, but..." He looked up, and for the first time she saw genuine vulnerability. "It's slow, and there are no guarantees." Isla moved closer, heart aching with an emotion she didn't want to name. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I don't trust easily," Dante admitted. "And because I needed to know if you'd stay without knowing I might recover. If your loyalty was to the contract or something else." "That's not fair," Isla whispered. "Nothing about this has been fair." Dante's eyes searched hers. "But somewhere between the contract and the board meeting, this stopped being just business for me, and I needed to know if it had for you too." Isla's breath caught. "Dante, I'm falling for you," he said bluntly, voice raw and honest. "I didn't plan to. I didn't want to. But watching you fight my sister, build something beautiful, refuse to back down even when they tried to destroy you." He stopped, shaking his head. "You're magnificent, Isla, and I don't know what to do with that." The confession hung between them, terrifying and beautiful. Isla's hands trembled. Every logical part of her brain screamed this was complicated, power dynamics impossible. She was still technically hired, but her heart didn't care about logic. "I'm falling for you too," she whispered. "Even though I shouldn't, even though this is insane." Dante's eyes blazed. "Come here." Not a command, a plea. Isla closed the distance. Dante reached up, hand cupping the back of her neck with the same gentleness from their wedding, and pulled her down. Their lips met, and this time it wasn't for cameras or contracts. This was real. The kiss was fierce and desperate, months of tension exploding into heat. Dante's other hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, and Isla's fingers tangled in his hair as she kissed him back, with everything she had. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Not because of the contract, not because you have to, but because you want to." Isla's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. "What about the war? Your family? The danger?" "We fight it together," Dante said fiercely. "You and me, partners, equals." "For how long?" His smile was soft and devastating. "How does forever sound?" Isla laughed, the sound breaking into a sob. "Completely insane." "Good," Dante kissed her again, slower this time, savoring it. I don't do anything halfway. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. 3 months later, the luxury division launch broke sales records in its first week. Mina was removed from the board after evidence of embezzlement surfaced, evidence Taemin had been quietly gathering for months at Dante's direction. Jung-soo took early retirement to spend time with family, which everyone knew meant he'd been outmaneuvered. And Isla's contract? Dante had it legally voided. Not because the year was up, but because, as he put it, you can't have a contract marriage when you're actually in love with your wife. They renewed their vows on a private beach in Jeju Island. Just the two of them and Taemin as witness. No cameras, no board members, no strategy. Just Dante taking slow, careful steps down the sand, each one a victory, to meet Isla under a simple arch of flowers. I promise to stand beside you, he said, voice steady and sure, literally and always. Isla laughed through tears. I promise to choose you, every single day. When they kissed, it tasted like freedom. 6 months after that, Dante walked unaided into the annual shareholders meeting and announced that Coleman, Italier and Kang Industries were officially merging into a new joint venture, a luxury tech company focused on cultural fusion and innovation. The stock price jumped 40% in one day. And in private moments, away from boardrooms and battles, Dante would pull Isla into his arms and whisper, "Best business decision I ever made." "Marrying me?" she'd tease. "Falling for you," he'd correct, kissing her until the world disappeared. 1 year later, Isla stood in the Kang estate gardens, watching Dante play with their 6-month-old daughter Zara. He'd regained almost full mobility, though he still used a cane on difficult days and probably always would. It didn't matter. He was here. They were here. "Mrs. Kang." Ji-woo appeared, tablet in hand. "The New York flagship opening is confirmed for next month, and Vogue wants a feature on the Cultural Fusion collection." "Tell them yes," Isla said, smiling. "To all of it." Dante looked up from making ridiculous faces at Zara, who was giggling helplessly. "Come here," he called. Isla crossed the garden, and he pulled her down beside him on the blanket, Zara immediately reaching for her mother with chubby hands. "Happy?" Dante asked softly, arm around Isla's shoulders. She looked at her daughter, at the man who'd started as a stranger and become her everything, at the life they'd built from ashes and contracts and impossible odds. "Completely," Isla whispered, and for the first time in her life, she meant it. But here's what you need to know before you go. This story, it's based on real psychology. When people feel trapped, they have 2 choices: break or transform. Isla and Dante, they chose transformation, and that's the lesson. Sometimes the cage becomes home not because you've given up, but because you've found something worth staying for. If you loved this journey from contract to forever, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me, what moment made your heart race? Was it the board meeting showdown? The confession in the office? That beach wedding? Let me know and check out our next story dropping this weekend. It's about a chef who accidentally poisons a food critic and has 24 hours to save his life and his restaurant. Until then, remember, the best love stories start with the worst contracts. Peace.